truth is so hard to find. With all the things that's going on, I lost track, I felt so strong. I got you on my mind, but something's been done wrong. Sometimes I've been thinking of what to make of me.
If you haven't been paying attention, now would be the time to start.
This could be the fight drift. Esports want to take a huge two-man shadow dash on top of a massive unstoppable force from Rava. Cosmic Radiance going to be coming in a little bit too late here. Can they turn around this fight? Silly Goose is quite healthy here, and there's a lot of low health bars. Taunt on a Grey Dog on Otter. Finding the engage. Fear beyond death. Going to fear two members. Now it's a 1v2 situation. Silly Goose flashing. Now it's just the ADCs, but he walks onto a trap. Both members are so low here. The built-over Peacemaker misses, but the ace in the hole finds the ace.
Drift Esports, the underdogs, the dark horse, the team that has been knocked down over and over and over again. They keep getting up.
Thracian looking for the flank here, does have the Shadow Dash, Death Sentence into the Shockwave combo. That's going to be Tay absolutely obliterated as Robin is getting focused. Silly Goose still alive here, firing away, but the focus there from Volatile to take down his fellow ADC. Shut down Gold going to the Ash.
They're still here. They're still fighting. And this week they face the toughest test mid-league can offer. Glaive Black.
Here comes the final fight. Issei flashes in, gets the taunt onto the enemy to carry. Nocturnal's already down. So is everybody else in the backline. Issei tanking towers for days. Trapezoid trying to stay alive in the backside. Stand United keeping the rest of the squad alive. Inferno Trigger gets popped, not onto Solar's end though. Two-man taunt coming through. Kiba, legendary double kill once again.
I mean, what more can you say? This team's name alone should bring nightmares to their opponents.
Ender, who will be going down to Demon this time, and that bot lane is action-packed. Kiba picking up a second kill. Will be traded back onto Nocturnal, but will they be able to go for the double? Trap gets down. Charizard's very low. Flash forward from Kiba. Double kill. Triple kills on the menu. He is writing names in his notebook.
Undefeated, undeterred, and so far unchallenged. This team has not missed a step, and it's hard to believe they will now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are hopping into Excellency mid-league semifinals, heading at you out of playoffs. It's a different day, different time, but same exciting action for all of you guys at home. For anyone that can join us today, we appreciate you taking time out of your unusual schedule to be joining us for this exciting series between Glaive Black and Drift Esports. My name is Loud Thoughts. I'm joined on the desk tonight, none other than your usual crew, Valley, Mac Dewey, and Doctor, all going to be here with us tonight. And then, of course, we have to give a shout out to Monocle, the man behind the scenes. Always appreciate his work. But hopping straight into this one, I think most of us can agree we have similar ideas about how this series is going to go. But I want to know, what do you guys have in mind for like the general tempo?
I think this one's going to be a bit of a quick one. I don't want to bang on the Drift Esports squad too much, but I mean, this is Glaive Black. This team went completely undefeated, didn't drop a single game across 7 weeks, and Drift, well, looked amazing last week. Like, you know, we were on the game, Loud Thoughts, you and myself, and we were popping off. We were living the dream. We were having so much fun. But that was Goliath Online. This is Glaive Esports. It is an entirely different beast.
Valley, what do you think?
Okay, all right. So, I don't know. You know, I think coming into this one, we have to look at the history as far as what happened the last time these two teams faced off. I mean, if you look at it, Drift Esports is maybe the only team that has taken 2 games against Glaive that have gone 30 minutes plus. So you have to take that into account, especially that second game where the kills were even. It was very even in gold and damage dealt. It really came down to one last fight. I think they pushed Glaive, and that's something we haven't seen too often. As well as, this is a Drift Esports team that they struggled at the beginning of the season, but they have beaten some good teams to get here. And I remember writing my script for that video. One of the undrafted things that like didn't get put in the video was, how many giants does Drift have to beat before they're considered a giant? How many teams do they have to take on? How many Goliaths do they have to knock down before they're stopped being David in the David and Goliath and they're the Goliath finally? I think we have to put a little bit more respect on them. Do I think Glaive is the favorites coming into this? Of course. They've cemented their place at the top, and it'd be rude and disrespectful of me to say they haven't and to say they aren't the favorites coming in. But I think you can definitely see a 2-1 coming into this series. Still in favor of Glaive, but I think Drift has the potential to at least take a game.
Yeah, I think coming into this series, it will be really interesting to see how Glaive Black are now feeling on this preseason patch. When they did go up against Drift Esports in week number 7, it was a close series, I think in part due to the recent changes, people still figuring out what compositions were working best with the new items. So I think now that Glaive Black, they had the first round bye, they've had some time to adjust and really prep for this series. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes decisively in this favor, but I think it really comes down to the top lane matchup and how these junglers are going to be able to gank in the early game. I think it's got to come down to, in the draft especially, how well are these teams going to set their junglers up for success, because we see a lot of tanky threats come out of both of these junglers. Thrasian and Demon, I think they match up really well into each other. Which team is going to give these superstars kind of the extra little push they need, the winning lanes they need, especially in the early game to really gank and hopefully push the tide towards their respective team.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that you put an emphasis on the jungler specifically, and I think that's something that we have to take a look at when we're looking at Glaive. Something we've mentioned in previous weeks, they have extremely strong team fighting, but what backs up a lot of their team fighting is their objective control. Valley's always going off about it. She notices these little things that they have, and it's why we've always been looking at Glaive as kind of the leader of this league, is because their team fighting is phenomenal. They're always there. But they're always there around the objectives at the right time, collecting the correct areas of the map, getting the ward coverage down. So if you are Drift Esports, Valley, I'm going to start with you because you think they can take a game off of them. What are you looking to do to try and take the first game off of Glaive Black?
I think you have to start with exactly what you mentioned there, and that is objective control. In game 2 of that series, even though it was a closer game the last time they faced off, Glaive got all the dragons, they got the soul, but in game 1, Drift still managed to push them despite being at more of a gold deficit, getting 3 drakes on their side, getting more of that objective pressure, and I think that allowed them to free up some space for them to work. Alongside that, they have to get good drafts off. You can't really ban out Kiba, but if you can take away power picks right now, like the Samira, like the Jhin, you put him onto something like an Ezreal so that you can have more of a solid weak side, 80 carry, weak side bot lane, so that you can, like Max said, get your jungle top synergy going, play around solo lanes, and kind of slow Kiba down so that he can't make an impact until a little bit later in the game. Then you have an opportunity to really fight for those objectives. I think that's where Drift needs to start.
Yeah, it's got to start around that bot lane if Drift even want to hope to play around dragons, because Kiba is an absolute matchup nightmare for Drift Esports coming into this one. But Cray Kitten, Volatile, I think, changed his name, so I think it's a little bit of a Cray duo playoff buff. They have themselves, I think, a really nice series against Goliath, especially in the team fights. Cray Kitten's Vayne was really tough to deal with once the Vayne was able to scale up and really become a threat. So you got to find a way to at least deal with Kiba. I don't think you can shut him down. He's just too good of a player, potential MVP winner for the overall season. So you got to put Cray Kitten and Cray Dog in a decent matchup and really give them some area to work with.
Those
Yeah.
are big words coming out of Mac, Doctor.
I think bot lane's in a very interesting position because we're seeing so many marksmen just be straight up bad, and so we're seeing a lot of teams resort to the Jhin, the Samira. I saw a Senna for the first time the other day. That kind of caught me off guard. But like Ashe is a thing too. But like it comes down to a lot of the supports because we're seeing some teams actually really fall back to these enchanters, which we've seen mixed results with. Not a lot of teams are all in on these tank supports, and so we're not seeing like these engage style teams from that portion where we're more relying on the top and the jungle. So I think if you really want to take control of this bot lane, let Glaive pick their bottom lane first, whether it's by banning away certain things and forcing them to pick early picks, or just save yours for the last half of the draft and get hard counters, get things that just absolutely dominate the team fights, dominate the lane, dominate the rest of the map. And if you need to sacrifice somewhere else, do so, because that bot lane from Glaive is insane. They are so good. They're so coherent, I think, is the biggest thing too. Like they play a unit, they play together, their team cohesion is amazing, and it just complements the rest of the team so well. And like as a unit, they're a single player almost. Like they are just so on point.
You heard it here first, folks. 2 players, 1 mind in the bottom lane for Glaive Black. These guys are the lane to watch. And as we're getting ready to hop into Champ Select in just a couple of minutes here, I know Valley said 2-1. I kind of want to get you guys' predictions. What do you think is going to be the final result of this series? 2-0, 2-1. Who's going to take it? How fast are these games going? Mac, I want to throw it over to you first.
I think bold prediction coming through. I think it still is going to be a Glaive 2-0. They have been so consistent throughout this season. Loud thoughts, and consistency is one of the things Drift has been lacking kind of this entire series or in season. Last week, looking at their series up against Goliath, it was a nail biter to the very end. I think if they're gonna come up with a victory or even just taking a game off of Glaive, there needs to be some massive improvements that have been made over the past week. Either that or a really solid game plan that they have specifically tailored to take down Glaive Black. Rava specifically, I'm looking at Rava to step up in a big way and be more impactful against Glaive.
Valley?
I mean, I'm still sticking with a 2-1. I think it's going to be some close games, especially you can say, hey, Glaive has had time to prepare, but you can't really prepare for the grit and the willingness to never give up, the energy that Drift brings to the table. I think they just have an X factor to them that really puts them over the top. And again, if an Otter gets going, if Thracian gets going, and if Rava steps up, like Mac was saying, this is a team that is very scary to deal with when they are on a roll, and when they're still in a game, you can never count them out. So I think it's a 2-1. Glaive has the confidence and the ability to win this, but I don't think it'll be as much of a blowout as everybody is saying.
And last but not least, Doctor, let's hear your thoughts.
I'm calling it 2-0. Probably roughly 32 minutes a game. I think that Glaive, from talking to the players, they come in with a game plan, and one of the things that they've worked out the best across all the teams in all the league is their execution of that plan. We've talked to the players, we've had them on the desk, we've interviewed them. They come in, they're like, we're going to draft these things because they draft those things. We're going to do this because they do that. And they just do it. And so now that, we're coming into this semifinal matchup, yes, Drift is resilient. Yes, they put their teeth to the grindstone and just try and brute force a victory. But if we know anything about League of Legends, if that team that has the lead, that has all the control, knows the pressure points, knows what they're doing in that position, there is no comeback. It's just so incredibly difficult without a mistake. And that game 3 last week was a mistake.
Yeah, I think last week, if anybody remembers, game 2, unfortunately, top laner DC'd, and Drift was able to pick up a win off of there. It was a very close back and forth game 2. You hate to see it, but it is what it is. Drift Esports is the team that we have here tonight playing with us. Thank you so much to Valley and MacDewey for joining us on the analyst desk, though. They're going to make a quick rundown to the caster booth, though, as we're starting to get ready for first game of our semifinals here between Glaive Black and Drift Esports. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We will have draft up and ready for you guys in just a quick minute here. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We told you it'd only be a minute before we hop back into the game series here. Champions are starting to be locked in just a second here. They're getting Pro Draft up and running. But, Doctor, now that we have a little bit time alone, we're not looking at these teams as a whole. I kind of want to get your idea on the general meta. Are there any kind of ideas of champions that you're going to be looking at specifically for this series?
So this is a best of 3 series, so you don't have too much room for error. So I think as we head into this pick and ban phase, we're probably going to see Amumu picked because it's an incredibly strong pick. It's been hot fixed, it's been changed, it's been tried to put back in the locker, but teams are still playing it a lot. They're still picking it into some really awkward matchups like the Kayn, which we may also see. Really, I'm going to talk about the jungle a lot because it is so crucial and it is so impactful. And honestly, whichever team picks Sejuani just wins. I don't know how many times I need to tell these teams this, but that's it. But so far, we're seeing Leona banned, Kayn banned as well. That one's so curious to me because Kayn can be such a resource hog that it's almost worth it to give it to the enemy team, in my opinion.
I don't know. I've seen too many Kayns in my solo queue games as of recently to weren't wanting to give that one over. We've been saying that, you know, it's about the junglers and it's about the bot laners here. And so far what we've seen, a bunch of bot laners and a bunch of jungler bans. We have the Mumu banned out the Kayn, Jhin, Blitzcrank, Leona, Shen about the only one that could be flexed into the top lane. But even then, it's still a support potential, still a jungle potential. Kale will be the first pick up here for Glaive, though, and that's an interesting champion to show right off the bat.
It's a very interesting first pick. You are 100% right there. She is incredibly strong. We've seen some really great pop-off plays. She carries super hard, split pushes super hard. The problem with first picking it, like absolute first picking it, is A, you can now get countered. Drift now have the opportunity to pick something like a Jax. Ornn, I think, is just not a lane counter, but a game counter. Like, he just does so well overall, bringing a lot of things to the team, and it also gives over power picks. Now you've given over Samira and Hecarim to Drift.
I don't know how I feel about the Hecarim pick. I don't think it's been nearly as good in the preseason as it was previously. It is still a very strong pick once you're able to hit either that Trinity Force or Divine Sunderer, but overall, not the strongest picks I think they could have picked up here. How Glaive is going to retaliate is a big curiosity to me. It looks like Nunu will be their lock-in for the jungle. That is still a very powerful pick at the moment. One of those tank junglers that you were mentioning about, likes to pick up the Sunfire Aegis, has constant engage potential with the biggest snowball ever. It is all around kind of a menace. Does the same thing Kayn does in the sense of forcing fights, and he's just constantly running it down and constantly forcing CC down your throats.
Yeah, and one of the problems with Hecarim, and it's not just Hecarim, it's also like the popular jungles pre-patch, is that because they don't have a jungle item anymore, it's almost a little bit more inefficient for them to do what they were doing pre-patch. So like Hecarim, Lilia, like they don't get access to these types of items, and so they don't quite hit the same spikes that they did before. So it's a bit more awkward to use them. They're still strong, in my opinion. I have to say that about Hecarim. I'm contractually obligated because he always makes me eat my words. But I mean, this Glaive draft, they're putting together a protect the comp. Like, they have the Kale, and they're building around Kale. I'm incredibly curious what this bot lane is going to look like, because I actually think that's going to be the Galio support. I don't think that's Galio mid.
Interesting. Galio support instead of Galio mid. But on top of that, we have had our final round of bans come in. Silas, Annie being taken off the board by Glaive. Meanwhile, Misfortune and Thresh, a couple of another strong power picks in the bot lane being taken away. So if the Galio does go bottom lane, that might be a huge flex for Glaive, having that engaged support available for themselves. They're also going to be locking in the Lucian here. Again, another flex pick could go towards ADC or towards the mid lane here. What their final pick is going to be will reveal all, though.
Yeah, and Pantheon. Okay, so it is actually going to be that Pantheon support. It's kind of what I was saying that Drift should be doing, in that they wait for the enemy team to pick their bot lane. That's insane. Holy heck.
What?
That's amazing. The Horde just left turn in from Drift, living up to that namesake. They put a draft together, and they just drop a Taric in. Holy.
Whew, they just Tokyo drifted on us. Like, I did not see that flex coming at all. That is insane. The Taric support in order to keep the Samira and or Hecarim and or Wukong all alive. Morgana, a great pick in the mid lane. If Pantheon ever steps up, you just throw a black shield on yourself. You clear the wave using the Tormented Soil over and over again. What is Pantheon going to do? He's going to try and go aggressive. And the only way he's going to be able to pick up a kill there is if he's able to get the empowered W without the black shield there to prevent the stun. But besides that, he's just going to get shoved in all lane.
Yeah. The Taric pick is actually good for whoever goes support, whether it is the Galio or the Pantheon, because they have pretty televised engage patterns. You can really set up the Dazzle to, as soon as they get something going, just deny it. Like, if you get the Pantheon, Aegis Assault in, it's already there. He's stunned immobile. You're beating him with your club. Your AD carries helping you out. Like, everything's good. Plus, you have Samira. You get that hard knockup. That's insane. And Galio, same thing. Justice Punch has an incredibly long windup that you can definitely time out with that Dazzle. And again, knock up from the Samira. That's going to become a recurring theme this game with the Morgana, the Wukong, the Hecarim. Like, Samira passive is going to get a lot of use here.
Yeah, and they're getting that Samira passive in right before she gets nerfed in this upcoming patch this week. They're going to be changing how that works so that she no longer gets knockups on everything, just continuation of other knockups. So it would still work technically with Hecarim and Wukong. The E counts as a displacement. It's weird. Yasuo can ult off of it too. I don't understand. But with that, we do have our final teams locking in here. I'm curious. We haven't had really a chance to talk about this Kale. We kind of had our minds blown by the Galio and Taric picks here, but Wukong versus Kale in the top lane. I don't imagine that is a very great matchup for Dibble.
It's going to be tough early on because it is a melee matchup, whereas Wukong is this kind of bully in the lane, is able to constantly apply pressure, dashing forward, punishing you, doing a lot of damage. So Kale will struggle, and then even post 6 she'll struggle for a little bit because she won't have as many items to really be able to withstand that type of onslaught. And so Kale will struggle. I have to imagine they're going to support her with that Nunu though, with either constant gank pressure or just constant counter invading on the top side of the jungle to make sure that Hecarim isn't given the opportunity to gank for the Wukong, which is a strong move considering what the rest of their lanes look like. And so Nunu here, it's a great pick. They have to play it right though. If the Nunu's too much down on the bottom half of the map around Dragon, the bot lane, things like that, he's not going to be protecting that Kale. And even though Galio can make the roam out and around, he does magic shielding. It's not going to help against the Wukong really.
True. It's not going to do much versus the Wukong. It'll prevent the knockup, but that's about all they have going for themselves. Final thoughts. Looking at this draft, I'm going to be honest with you. There is a part of me that really hopes that Drift wins this game. I want to see them take the first game off of Black. I love the Taric flex, but who do you think is going to come out with a victory on this one?
I think if you like took names off and you just like posted this in like one of the caster Discord, like in the casting discussion booths, and was like, discuss who won draft. I think you're looking at Drift on this patch. They have the super strong Samira. They have this Morgana, which could do really well into these types of matchups. It is potentially countered by the Galio, but it's whatever. They're just going to push into Oblivion. And they have a really nice Wombo team fight between the Wukong, the Hecarim, and the Taric. So I think just looking at the team compositions, I think Drift has a really good shot at taking this game 1. We are just going to have to see if they get skill gapped. That's really the biggest factor here. But just based on paper draft champions, I think Drift has it.
Hey, you heard it here first, folks. Drift, they might have the potential of winning this one, but we got 2.5 minutes until the spectator delay finishes up, and Valley and MacD are waiting for you guys over at the caster booth to bring you into the first exciting game of this series. So do not touch that browser. Do not go anywhere. We will be back with the cohorts to bring you game 1 of Glaive Black versus Drift Esports.
Hello, Summoners. Welcome onto the Rift for game number 1 of our best of 3 semifinal matchup between Glaive Black and Drift Esports. My name is Mac Dewey, and joining me in the casting booth is the one and only Ashley Valley Weaver. How are you doing tonight?
I mean, I'm excited, right? My favorite team to watch and the best team in the league are going off against each other in the semifinals. I don't know what more I could ask for it. This is a game that I've been very hype about. We didn't get to stream it during the regular season, so hopefully it's a banger. But I gotta be honest, it's been kind of hard to focus ever since we had that chat about aliens before the stream started.
Apparently aliens exist, but if one thing is for certain, it is that Kale is weak in the early game Valley, and that's really where I want to see Drift Esports focus in this early game. Thracian has got to do dibble dirty really bad.
Tongue twister right there, but yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. If Thracian and Otter can combine correctly, Dibble's going to have a really awful time. But if we know anything about Demon, it is that he is a proficient jungler, knows how to play around counter ganking, and on this Nunu can get around the map so quickly. So we'll see if it's actually possible for them to do that. Both junglers starting bottom side, so I think they have the same kind of game plan in mind about where they want to approach. And overall, these compositions are well-rounded on both sides. So you could attack any lane if you're either jungler and really get value.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking, getting ready for this matchup, doing a little bit of prep. Both of these mid laners, Kakari and Rava, I feel like pretty standard, safe, more mage lenient style players. And overall, I was thinking both of these guys, they need to step up. They need to have big performances. And in game number 1, we're kind of still carrying on with the supporty style narrative of these players, because we see Galio and Morgana facing off in this mid lane.
Yeah, I think Morgana can be kind of underrated, though, as one of those supportive mid laners. Definitely can build that way. But in this current preseason patch, with the amount of damage mages can do right now, you could be surprised by just the amount of burst / tick damage that you see from a Morgana. And I think where we really need to peel our eyes is this bottom lane, right? We talked about it on the analyst desk coming into it, that Kiba is one of these top 80 carries, if not the top 80 carry in this league.
Absolutely.
And they got Lucian Pantheon, Mac Dewey. They got the quintessential aggressive lane bully early game style composition that they could have ever wanted. And now we see Demon fighting Thracian and an Otter.
Ooh, that's why we get the phase rush going, but it is going to be a disengage there from Glaive.
Yeah. Going back to my point a little bit, this should give them so much potential to play around Drakes, especially given that Hecarim, not the greatest early game Drake taker. Nunu loves to play around every Drake, especially with the Q doing so much healing. They have such priority in this lane, and Kraykitten and Kraydog are going to have a little bit of a rough time keeping up early on.
We see a lot of aggression starting out from an Otter in this early lane, and he was such a stud in the series. Ooh, the Pantheon roaming in the mid lane, but we do see quite a big snowball coming into the top lane. Is Thracian, though, with the response. Demon trying to flash onto an Otter. The decoy! Demon, you chose poorly! The first blood comes through for Thracian on the Hecarim. That's a solo, and Otter not getting any assist credit. That's still going to be Drift Esports starting off on the right wheel.
That is so close. It's a game of inches. Literally, I think probably 15 HP for an Otter. Now he's backing off the TP.
Is going to be able to walk away from that one. He does have teleport available, so he should be able to match an Otter quite easily. That's exactly what we wanted to see, though, Valley, from Drift in this early game. Attack that top lane. And it's kind of shocking to see Demon up there trying to make something happen for the Kale.
I think it's a good idea going forward for Demon, right? You try to catch the opposition off guard. Say, hey, we know this is our weak side top lane, but we think that we have the opportunity to really surprise you with these ganks. Nunu is very proficient at early game ganks, and we're going to see another gank onto Dibble already.
Teleport coming in. That's going to be Kakari joining Thea's a solid flash. Dibble's able to get away as Kakari. So much move speed. Does land the taunt down. That's a lot of damage. That's going to be a kill. Going over to the Glaive mid laner. Kakari with a solid teleport play.
Beautiful play from Kakari. The awareness of this Glaive team is ever present, even without the hero's entrance. Uses the teleport to support this weak side top laner. Now they're going for the dive.
That's the taunt landing. Kakari's on fire. There's the X Factor coming through. He gets turret aggro off of them. Barely is able to survive, but that's 2 quick kills picked up for Glaive in the top lane.
Yeah, that's a ton of value added. You get a kill and an assist, and now it's just going to be some trading in the bottom lane. I don't expect we'll see an all-in just yet, but again, Glaive never takes their foot off the gas. Even when they, lose first blood, they say, "Okay, we'll come back. We'll make the play that needs to happen." This is a team that you feel like, "All right, we got an advantage." Snap your fingers. It is gone. Go to the next play. You have to keep moving forward. Nice stuns coming out from Kraydog, though.
It's just back and forth between these bot laners. Summoner spells being burned now. That's going to be the heal in the flash coming out of the Drift bot lane. Kiba getting that heal on, and Issei forced to burn Flash Valley.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to see how that played out, given that we said Issei and Kiba were going to be the ones creating the most pressure in this bottom lane, and that we thought coming in that it would be a pretty big skill discrepancy between these two bot lanes. Now we are going to see the Drake start up. Thracian's pretty low. I don't think they can actually do this.
Kakari wants to try to find a way in, lands a huge taunt, but where's the follow-up? He's in all alone.
Issei?
Gonna try to follow up now, but
Kraken.
Craig Hitton taken down first. Glaive bot lane trying to run away as quickly as possible. That's going to be Issei dazzled away. Kiba, the onslaught of shadows coming through, the level up. Thracian picks up a double kill.
That's 3 picks in a fight that shouldn't even be taken. Glaive oversteps. Their aggression usually gets them victories, but even in that play, they don't have the health bars, they don't have the abilities, and they don't have the cooldowns. Kiba and Issei cannot do anything in that fight, and Drift comes out on top, and they come out with a 700 gold lead 8 minutes into the game.
We do see both of these ADCs on their first back pick up pretty similar backs, both boots, both noon quivers attained, in really the dragon not going to either side, still kind of leaning into this Glaive play style. They still don't lose an objective with the Nunu, but it is Thracian's Hecarim 3-1-1 already in the first 8 minutes. He's gonna see if he can start up this Drake.
Yeah, he is going to start up the Drake, and I'm assuming we'll see a fight here as there is a snowball coming in, as Issei is now in on Kraydog, trying to walk away. Remember, no level 6, so that means there's not going to be a Cosmic Radiance there available. Glaive forces them off the Drake and says, "Hey, this is ours. You can't really contest this right now when we're actually at full strength with a 4-on-4. And things to note, right, is that this is what we were talking about. Both these teams need to be playing around objective, and while it's unfortunate that Drake doesn't go over to Drift after they get the 3 kills, they are playing around the proper parts of the map, right? They're getting value onto Kitten, has 3 assists. They got a kill onto Kraydog, so that he's going to be scaling up. The Hecarim is in a solid position as well. They are matching Glaive where they know Glaive is going to be, and they are finding value because of it. The only thing I'm worried about is if you look at that top lane, it is not a big CS discrepancy for an Otter. Dibble has been playing this matchup beautifully, and this Kale is starting to come online more and more every second.
Yeah, Kale right now so strong in the current meta, and Otter facing a really tough matchup now. We do see the Galio coming up. Here comes the raid boss. Kakari Cyclone going to be used. That's going to be enough of a storm to disrupt the gank. Glaive going to have to back off, and look, already Thracian has picked up the first mythic item of this match. Divine Sunder completed in under 9 minutes.
Snowball coming in, though. Thracian might be in a little bit of trouble as Issei is here as well. Hero's entrance comes down.
Ooh, here is the absolute zero. Thracian getting rooted down. Issei gonna find the stun into the pot. The chain coming through. That's gonna be another kill going over to Kakari.
Nunu is such an oppressive champion. There is a reason this is an S tier jungler right now. With the phase rush to chase you down, with the snowball speed you get to get across the map, faster than probably any other jungler in the game right now. Couple that with the knockup, the slows, the stun, and the ultimate that does so much burst, it feels so difficult to actually out jungle and outmaneuver this character, and you are seeing it on display from Demon.
Yeah, Rava, notably, I feel like so far has been somewhat unimpactful. One of the players we were looking to step up a solid CS.
Oh, he stole his friend!
Oh, making me eat my own words up here. There's the impact, Rava! That's a huge play.
That is a massive play, because that is one of those objectives that you think after that play, okay, the Heck Rim's gone, Thrasian can't get here, this is a free objective, we can maybe take this top side or even into the mid lane to free up our 2 solo laners. Instead, they're going to get it for Drift. Thrasian will now have it, and he can maybe take this into the top or bottom lane himself to get some plates and to scale this Samira, this Wukong even quicker. That is just actually massive impact. I know, you meme about something like that, like it makes you eat your word, but the actual impact of that cannot be felt just yet. We have to wait and see where it's dropped, but it has so much potential, and that is the kind of things, like you said, Rava needs to step up, and even small plays like that are showing that he is capable of doing so. We'll see if that plays out further along, as Issei is making a lot of roams, and that's giving a lot of value to Kraken and Kraydog in a matchup where they should be pretty much down and out.
Yeah, it will be really interesting how Glaive continue to try to find advantages. Drift now looking top lane with the Rift Herald Dragon not going to be up for some time. These bot lane matchups can really feel like go either way, all down to kind of the skill matchup. And Drift Esports, I feel like, especially in the team fighting phase where we know Glaive has been so consistently good, they've got themselves kind of a hard to execute composition.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy to execute composition. And if you look on the other side, Glaive has so much priority not only into team fights, but also into side lanes, right? If you look at a side lane matchup, one, Kayle, once she scales, is a monster to deal with in a solo lane. But beyond that, if you try to punish her, you have so many semi-globals, a Pantheon ult onto a Kayle that uses her ultimate with a hero's entrance on top. So hard to kill. An Otter.
Flash forward, Dibble, can he do it? Oh! That's going to be the kill, going over Han style over to the Glaive top laner.
Is that to say that he got a solo kill?
Oh yeah.
All right, I like the Star Wars reference. Demon gonna get hit by the unstoppable onslaught.
We got a fight in the river here. Kakari looking for you, huge taunt. That's 3 people locked up here.
Cosmic Radiance
coming down, not gonna land onto Kakari. Hero's entrance, maybe what Glaive needs.
Trying
to turn around, the Colin coming through.
Teleport on the backside.
EDC coming up big on Otter, looking for the flank, but Dibble, he's got the better angle. Kraydog is going to get obliterated. Dibble goes on a killing spree, and Otter forced to back off.
Yeah, and you're starting to see how difficult it is to fight this Glaive composition. The Cosmic Radiance is just slightly too little too late from Kraydog. If Kitten lives there, you might see the Inferno trigger come in and really make the difference. Instead, it's a 3-for-1, and it's going to end up being a dragon, the second dragon of the game, secured for Glaive. They found about a 2.5k gold lead for themselves. They're starting to put pressure into Thrasian's jungle, and we might see another fight right here, Mac Dewey.
Is where Glaive become comfortable and somewhat ascend on the rift. Here's a fight again around the river. Kakari wanting to join the fight once again, looking for a huge taunt. Members, this is huge from the Galio. Coming through a quick double kill over to Kiva Kraken, trying to dash to survive. Kakari, so much move speed. Here comes the Starfall. Dibble on a rampage. Kitten gonna use the Blade Whirl. Divine Judgment, not enough Holy Intervention to pick up the kill, but it's still Glaive Black picking up 3 kills. Rava trying to make an answer happen. The Lucian barely able to get away. The explosive plants from the Infernal Rift helping out Glaive Black just a little bit. Valley, that's going to be a 3-for-0, and suddenly this Drift Esports advantage has spun way out of control.
Way out of control is an understatement. And this is what makes Glaive so impressive to me personally, is that their drafts are impeccably well-rounded, right? You look at a team composition where their bot lane, which we know can perform, they have early game pressure, or they have early game power spikings, especially in Lucian and Pantheon. They have side map presence in the hero's entrance as well as the Grand Starfall, and they have scaling priority with the Kayle. As long as the Kayle survives, they can play through the other lanes for the early game and get so far ahead that Kayle just gets such free value.
Cosmic Radiance is available. Kraydog getting bursted down. The Pantheon damage at the absolute zero. Gonna finish off the support there. Onslaught of Shadows. Whoa, a weird knock there coming through from Thrasian. And the horse is just going to walk away with his tails between his legs. The gank in the top lane fails. And here come the turrets getting a knocking down. We didn't see that Rift Herald used very effectively, Valley, and it's Glaive starting to take over at the 16-minute mark.
Yeah, it didn't feel like there were any points of pressure that the Rift Herald could be dropped and used effectively, especially with Dibble 4-0-3, has the Gnasher's Tooth and is working towards that second item already, and Otter doesn't have any answers. All he can do is just sit there and watch as his tower falls, isn't even able to back with how quickly it's being taken down. And where do you find a point of impact, right? If you're the side of Drift, you have to just hope that you can survive until the 4th Drake. You have to wait 10 minutes until you hit your 2-item power spikes.
Right.
But at that point, is Kayle out of control? I mean, she's already level 11 at 16 minutes. By the time we're getting to Drake's Soul, she's probably level 15, level 16 with 2 to 3 items. This is a scary position to be in for Drift, and there's not a lot of answers right now.
And I do, as this game continues to pull through, Drift, they've come back from worse. We saw it last week in their quarterfinals matchup. Elise Kakari coming up. He's trying to get the kill onto the Kayle, but it just doesn't work. Dibble is unstoppable at the moment, and Thrasian might be next on the menu. Here comes the Snowball Demon missing, but the CC chain coming through, and Dibble dominating here in game number 1.
I mean, it's just flawless execution. Glaive, they come in for these dives repeatedly. Kakari always channeling the taunt, forcing the person that's being dove out of that zone or forced to take the CC chain. Once that taunt lands, they juggle aggro beautifully. They land all their tower control, and now we're seeing another engage. Here's entrance, though.
Kakari does get the assist. Didn't really help there pick up the kill. The turret is going to be focused down. Kiba wanting to step forward. Can't run past Kakari, though. The Black Shield is going to get rid of that snowball, and I wonder at what point do Drift have to back off? Rava's going to be obliterated there, just under his own turret. 18 minutes into the game, Valley. Drift down 9,000 gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, watching at home, if you've never seen clean League of Legends, dominant League of Legends where every single player knows their limits. They've limit tested, they know how far they can go, they know how much they can dive, they know what resources they need. You are seeing it right now. This is what Glaive does. They push and they push and they push, and if you don't push back, if you don't answer back consistently, you will get ran down. You will get stuck under your towers, and then you will die under them. You won't get any objectives unless you steal a lucky one away. You won't knock down any towers, and you will be down almost 10,000 gold at the 19-minute mark into the game. This is impeccable League of Legends, and this is what this team does. It's why they haven't dropped a game. It's why they haven't been challenged this season. And Drift right now, they look desperate. They don't have answers. They don't have ways to win this fight. Rava is dead.
No handoff required. That's going to be a quick kill. Now a teleport coming through, and Otter looking to make something happen, but not on this Rift, not against Glaive Black. The top laner gets taken down in what is certainly an unusual performance in Otter. 0-5-0 right now in game 1.
That's what I like to call a tilt teleport, as that third Drake is picked up. You think you can make a play, you don't realize that Rava's going to die instantly, and as soon as you make that teleport, you realize that you were just kind of hoping you could make anything happen out of nothing. Flash taunt onto Cray Kitten.
Going to be able to get away momentarily, And Otter has respawned. Thracian up around the Krugs. Is it going to be able to help? Rift Herald, the second one of the game, dropped in the mid lane by Glaive Black. They are taking everything, and that's the last of the inner turrets.
It just feels like there's so much pressure right now. Like you're just being choked out of the game if you're the side of Drift. And I want to say the game's never over, right? But this is a Glaive team that knows how to end games.
Right.
And with Baron having just spawned and they're already starting it, there are so few options. It feels like they can't even defend their turrets. They have to use the shield to block the culling just so that Rava doesn't die. And you can get back into this game. If Thracian were to hop over this wall and steal this, maybe you have an opportunity. But even then, I don't know if it's enough. Demon secures that for himself. And at this point, you're still only at one item. The game is only 20 minutes in, and it's 18-5. They're down 10k gold. Baron has been taken off the table. You have to find a miracle if you're the side of Drift in game one. And I don't know if it's coming anytime soon.
I wonder if they do the classic Goliath bait once again, let them get the soul, so then they could get Elder Drake sooner.
I don't know if that was the exact plan that they had in that Goliath game. It worked out then, but I also think we have to take a look at this composition. Wukong is 0-5-0 with one item, and it's Wit's End. It's not even a mythic item. He has Wit's End and Merc Treads. He is not feeling good about himself. He's not going to outscale a Kale. You're looking at a Hecarim that is 3-5-2. Yeah, you have Divine Sunderer, but is that enough to carry a team fight? Morgana is a pick-based champion. Grand Starfall comes in onto Rava. Isn't going to find the pick-off, but here's the fight.
Kraydog just destroyed their Issei with the proactive play, with the Pantheon Grand Starfall coming in. This is how Glaive operate, and they pick up a kill. That is huge as they look to start opening up the base.
Yeah, and this tower will fall. They're also going to put the Kale in the side lane to create pressure. I like this 1-3-1 system they have going, especially given Galio has Hero's Entrance, can get into a fight or escape from a pick-based composition. This should be 3 inhibitors at the least, if not the end of the game. As one inhibitor falls, now they're going to rotate themselves over, and you have to make a fight happen at some point, as Issei goes in.
Drift Esports, this is their time to shine with the Cosmic Radiance coming down, but it doesn't get and Zero with the Hero's Entrance. There's so much CC.
Right,
Kiva does get taken down. Now the rest of the fight coming through. Kraydog to support. Meanwhile, there is no one left alive on the side of Drift Esports. Glaive Black, they get their fight. They get the game. They're knocking down the Nexus turrets. And in dominating Glaive Black fashion, in under almost 23 minutes, they take game 1 of this best of 3.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, but Glaive wears it well. A dominating victory, like you said, in game 1, and this series is already on the edge of slipping away from Drift.
What a crazy game 1. We were thinking Drift Esports in week number 7 could maybe take them beyond 30 minutes, but what seems like in their most dominant form, Glaive Black, they take their week off and they are still just as good. We are going to hand it back over to our wonderful analyst, Doc and Loud Thoughts, to break down this game a little bit further.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is us, Doc and Loud Thoughts, here on the analyst desk, bringing you a breakdown of what was a very one-sided affair here between Glaive Black and Drift Esports, and that's not to say that there wasn't hope. The early game going so well for Drift towards that top side of the map. They're able to shut down Demon, get an early kill. It looked like an Otter had a chance to maybe take over that lane, but a couple of just unfortunate gigs for an Otter led to his demise up in that top side of the map.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a game. Glaive recognizing their win con of that Kale, they just hyper camped. Like, they bought those specialized camper vans and just drove it to the top lane every given chance. And just, it's so tough to see that, because it's almost like what we talked about in pregame, where this Kiba Issei lane is so cohesive and such a unit, they don't even need to be near each other. Like, how much of that game did Issei actually spend in bottom lane? Like, if we had a stat tracker person, I would want them to actually count that, because of the 23-minute game, I think it was probably like 6 minutes they actually spent duoing with their marksman carry, and the rest of it was roaming the map, picking up mid lane ganks. I think they even got a couple scuttles for the team. Like, when you get that much free lane in the bottom lane to just do anything else, it's insane. You just win.
Yeah, and that was something that we were kind of talking about while that game was going on, was just how much pressure Issei has across the map. That man spent so much of that game in the mid lane, pressuring out this Morgana, giving opportunities for this Galio to roam towards the top side of the map, and they made great work of that, constantly showing up behind the lane with the Nunu in order to pull off the dives, kill an otter over and over and over again. And sure enough, Thrasian would go towards the top side of the map as well to try and just, help out as best he could, see if he was able to do something to save the game or save the lane, and just always ended up in him dying as well. Very unfortunate situation. But looking at that bottom lane, we've mentioned a large priority of Glaive Black's strength does come from Issei constantly roaming out of that lane. What is there that Drift can do in order to try and counter that playstyle that Drift has kind of established for themselves?
So back in the green room, you brought up a great point. Freezing the lane in that type of situation gives you so much prio to just punish the animated carry, especially when you have a carry like Tarek, who does get the bonus armor, has a hard CC, has a heal as well. You just kind of can put them in front of the minion wave as like a just unblockable wall, and let the Samira slow, push the wave, even just a full-on freeze if possible, and you just deny levels and experience from that Lucian. What we saw here was just kind of like mindless pushing. Like, it wasn't even like they would build up 2 or 3 waves and then push it into the tower for like maximum effect. We were at most getting like a wave and a half to 2-ish waves, and so we were seeing plates go down, but I think they were only able, as the Cray do, I think they were only able to get 2 or 3 plates, which is only about 300 gold total, because they're 160 a pop. And so split that 2 ways, everybody's getting about 160, which is it's not amazing. Just buy a cull if you're really that concerned about it. And so you kind of split the difference on what your game plan should be. Either freeze it on your side and just completely deny the Lucian, or hard push, shove every single lane, and get your jungler down there and just tower dive them. You have a Tarek, you have, again, armor, crowd control, and a heal. You can tank a couple tower shots and hopefully give the kill over to your carry, like we saw happen on the top side for Glaive.
Yeah, constantly we saw those waves being pushed on the bottom side. I personally would have liked to see them freeze that wave a couple of times, and then, as you mentioned, slow crash, a large minion wave, have Thrasian come down towards the bottom side, and, Pantheon shows back up. Congratulations, just a second kill if you have your jungler prepared and ready to be there, and that means that he can't be running a terror in your mid lane as well. So, that I think is probably what I would like to see coming out of Drift, as we are getting set up and ready, prepared for game 2 here, ladies and gentlemen.
And so the teams have swapped sides too, something to note as we head into it. So now it is Drift with the absolute first pick.
Yeah, so it is going to be Drift picking up the blue side here. I wonder how draft is going to change here, because Kale is not something that you can give Black for free. Obviously, they know how to play around it. They can play the Galio, they can play the Nunu. There's enough mid lane roam champions that I don't think that you can ban out the mid laner for Glaive Black as well. So how are they going to be able to counteract that Kale pick? Do they just have to ban it, or do they have to pick something better than the Wukong?
I think ban it. She gets a lot in her new itemization, and she's just kind of strong-ish. Like, we haven't seen like over buffing to the point where she's like must pick, must ban. I think you have to ban her here because she did so well. Incredibly strong scoreline, just kind of took over the lane. I think Drift kind of got baited, honestly, in a lot of their picks. They got the Hecarim. It was strong pre-patch. It's less strong now. Samira, I said it in Twitch chat. I think it's a bait pick. I think there are other options, even with the Jin band. They still have the Ashe, they still have the Senna, they still have the Ziggs, or the Brand is being picked up again. So I think Samira is just a little too hard to execute on a consistent level. Again, not throwing shade at marksman players. I think just Samira is difficult, to execute. You got to get S ranks. You need to micromanage range distances. It's a bit tough on a competitive, consistent level. Wukong, incredible bait pick. Just pick a tank. Just don't worry about it. Pick Ornn, pick Maokai, pick Sion. Just set it, forget it, farm into oblivion, be useful later. That's the name of the game right now. Be useful later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in a top lane matchup where you're going to get camped out like that. Kale constantly having the support of her team, and it felt like an Otter was just kind of left on an island after the first couple of kills went through up there. They were like, well, Kale got kills, can't do anything about it now, and then just abandoned his lane. Just abandoned ship, leave the captain to go down with it, and Otter's on his own. So, unfortunate situation there for Drift Esports. Bottom side of the map.
Special.
The solo queue special for sure. But, you can't always play to perfect team compositions here, as we see. We were thinking that if this Wukong pick was able to make its way out of the laning phase, or at least find himself a lead, that they'd be able to pull off or execute a fantastic team comp that they had drafted for themselves there. But we are heading into the second game of our series here between Drift Esports and Glaive. Black Galio taken off of the table right off the bat. Amumu is the response from Glaive.
So I do like the Galio ban. It was incredibly problematic, not just in the top lane, but we saw a couple situations around the Dragon Pit where he was able to use some additional move speed, get in, get a multi-man taunt off, and really just provide that hard crowd control that can be really difficult to deal with. Kale banned away. Again, I think it's the right choice. It was incredibly strong, great stat line, just did really well. Again, with the Kayn ban, I know you said it's good in solo queue, but I just don't agree. I've seen it played. It doesn't seem that strong. Rost has always been a good pick to have because of drain tanking, but I think there's better options. I think that what you're doing now is you're leaving Jin open, so you almost have to pick it here.
Or not. I think... I don't really have that many loud thoughts. I don't have that many thoughts, unfortunately, at the moment. Rek'Sai is an interesting first pick here, especially considering that they have left that Jhin up and available. Now, keep in mind, I am personally of the opinion that Jhin is not first pick worthy. You could easily lock in the likes of a Malphite top lane, a couple of tanks here for Drift, and deal with the Jhin in due time. However, it has meant that you're leaving the Nunu up, and there's not exactly a whole lot that Rek'Sai does to Nunu at the moment.
Does Rek'Sai do anything? At all?
Buy Gore Drinker, and you can be a Gore Drinker abuser, but that's about all I got for you. The item's busted, don't get me wrong, but there's enough champions that could use that item so much better than the likes of a Rek'Sai. Kaista also going to be the pickup for Glaive here, and already we're seeing the likes of a dive composition.
So Glaive, they're making sure that their jungler can't get banned away in round 2. They're picking a reasonably strong AD carry. They're setting themselves up for success once again. Draft are the ones that have to make the adaptation, by the way. They lost game 1. They're in a best-of-3 series, so this is a do-or-die game here that they have to win if they want to stay alive in the semifinal. And so these picks have to be like their just absolute comfort picks, like they're tier 1 characters per lane, just making sure that they're as strong as possible as players, and hoping that they can take advantage of these preseason changes and things like that. They get their hands on the Shen. That's huge. Shen is great. I love it. Tanks on the top lane.
Yeah, no, I love to see the Shen pick up here, but I do have my questions about the rest of the composition. Rek'Sai, we've been talking about. Not sure how that's going to fit in. Caitlyn is personally my main champion. I love Caitlyn to death. Think the champion's super fun. There's a lot that you can do with her. However, she's just not great at the moment. She doesn't really bring a whole lot. The itemization for her is okay at best. And there's just such
yeah.
better champions out there that are going to be able to use the preseason changes so much better here. Mordekaiser Silas being taken off the board. It looks like they are going to try and pinch ban out the top lane from the side of Drift to make sure that Shen has a decent matchup up there. But what is it that is going to be the final ban from Glaive? It is going to be Annie, so potentially that support and or mid laner here. It looks like Glaive wants to try and pick up a mid or pinch the mid lane as well.
So the only change from Glaive's ban phase here is they swapped the Samira for the Shen. So they found it scary enough in game 1 that they didn't want to deal with it, and they think the Shen's going to be an easier matchup. I think if you look at the scorelines, that kind of makes sense. Top lane did kind of get stomped a bit harder than bot lane, unfortunately. And so Glaive is making a calculated decision here to try and take more advantage of that. If that's a top lane Malzahar, I'm going to lose it. I am just simply going to lose my mind. It's so good into Shen. You just push the wave into oblivion, you hit him with the space disease, and just walk away.
The space disease indeed in the top lane. There's not a whole lot that you can do when it comes to the Malefic Visions from this Malzahar. It is also something that could be flexed into the mid lane. I personally hate the champion. Not a fun champion. Not fun to play against. Not fun to play as. But hey, when you can press R and tell one person that you no longer get to play the game for the next 3 seconds as I melt your entire health bar, not. Am I correct?
Well, the
I'm
QSS.
correct. That's true. QSS does get rid of suppression now, so we'll have to see.
This Drift draft is just
All over the place.
it is quite all over the place. They do have an amazing pick composition. Like every single champion here does something to contribute to that pick composition. And if they can make it work, if they just group as 5 and play a roaming death squad and catch Glaive in transition, they have something going for them. They have the long range engage, they have the short range engage, they have Caitlyn, and Glaive.
I don't get it, man. What is...
So it's top lane Kench, mid lane Malzahar. They have unbenched the Kench. It is such a meme. It does pretty good into Shen though.
I mean, I can imagine. So Tom Kent's passive, he's going to be able to pick him up, take the auto attack trade, stun him, percentage health damage. Tom Kent is also always just been kind of flexed towards the top lane because of his passive and the ability to abuse the 3-stack into the consume, but it is just interesting traps across the board here. Writing it down, we have Rek'Sai, Caitlyn, Shen, Rakan, and Morgana. Again, running the double support comp out of Drift here. And then Glaive is running Nunu, Kai'Sa, Blitzcrank, Malzahar, and then another support as well in that Tom Kench. So it's double supports in this series here. I kind of
considered Nunu a support too. So Glaive's almost running a triple support comp with a Kai'Sa. Hyper carry on hyper carry that doesn't need crit, so they're going to hit their items before Caitlyn does. They're going to be more relevant before Caitlyn is. They're going to do more damage than Caitlyn. This is going to look like what Drift did to Goliath last week.
Yeah, just kind of across the board. I'm not sure where Drift gets their damage from. I have been informed by production that Thracian's Rek'Sai went 13-4-8 in his last game and is a lethality abuser, picking up the Prowler's Claw, which I can see the Prowler's Claw would be a pretty decent item. If you're able to get vision on your opponent while you are tunneled, you would be able to immediately get the knockup for it and the extra damage. So probably going to be running the Hail of Blades as well and just going to absolutely one-shot somebody if they're out of position, especially this Kai'Sa. The issue is that Malzahar has the Spell Shield. Tom Kench, Blitzcrank, and Nunu are all most likely going to be too tanky for Rek'Sai to be able to one-shot. His only real target is this Kai'Sa, who if you do not immediately kill with the full combo using that Prowler's Claw, then she's going to be able to flash, heal, use the killer instinct, all of these to be able to get away from this Rek'Sai. Sure, you do have the Rek'Sai ultimate as well to follow up, but that is committing everything to trade Rek'Sai's life for the Kai'Sa. Potentially worth it, take Kiba out of the game for sure, but it's a matter of execution at this point, and it's a huge risk for Drift.
If Kiba dies, they lose the team fight, which is definitely the name of the game. Drift have the composition for it. The Rek'Sai, I think you've made is a good point. If they can kill Kiba during the knockup, they win the team fight. Like, that's just how it is. They can submarine it, send in the Rek'Sai, send in the Shen, send in the Rakan, just, dogpile onto, the Void Princess, make sure that she doesn't get an option to use the Killer Instinct to heal with Flash. Tight windows, incredibly small margins of error here to work with. But if it works, it's just dream scenario. Drift then can move the rest of the way through the fight, front to back. They probably don't kill Nunu or Tahm Kench, but they force them back. They, take an objective of the tower, dragon, herald, baron, whatever it is, because there shouldn't really be too much contention at that point. Especially if you kill Nunu, that's just amazing. Like, you then get the free smite, everything's going good. You're looking pretty good at that point. I want to see them get to it. I do want to see Drift win. I just think that this is a tough draft for them. I think there's a lot of Protect Kai'Sa in here, and I think we've seen Juggernog compositions for quite long enough that we know exactly how this story goes.
Yeah, that is the hard part, and there's not exactly a whole lot of killing potential on Drift when it comes to dealing with these tanks. I do absolutely want to see Kraken Slayer picked up by the Caitlyn here. A lot of the itemization, as I was mentioning before, for that bot lane long range AD carry for Drift is kind of still up in the air. People are debating Immortal Shield Bow, and you go overkill and just look to harass people at max health, or Kraken Slayer, try and get some extra damage put into that kit, play Caitlyn as that first ADC, where you look for the headshots alongside the Kraken damage, alongside everything else that is going on. But there's no better way for us to find out what happens in this game outside of watching what happens in this game. 2 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to be throwing over to a quick delay here. Mac, Dewey, and Valley are still waiting for you guys over at the caster desk to bring you into the second game series between Drift Esports and Glaive Black. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hello, Summoners. Welcome onto the Rift for game number 2 of our best of 3 series. It's the Excellency mid-league semifinal matchup between Drift Esports and Glaive Black. And in game number 1, Valley, if you blinked, you missed it. Glaive Black coming out here in classic fashion, dominating the opposition, picking up a quick win in around 23 minutes. It was crazy. Drift Esports now in familiar territory with their back up against the wall, going up against Tom Kench, Malzahar, solo laners. Valley, what is Drift Esports supposed to do in game number 2?
I mean, other than be a little bit confused as to what's happening in the other team's composition, they need to take a breath and refocus, right? This is a team that has been down before, and they know what it's like to be on the opposite side of a loss. They know what it's like to not always be ahead, and they know how to play from behind. So they just need to take their focus. They need to say, hey, it was just one game. We need to find what worked for us in game 1, focus on those fundamentals, play around objectives, not overextend, not over tilt, and make sure we're getting some good vision control, and then we'll be in a good spot. So I think overall they can still come back from this. They just have to maintain their mentals. As Tom Kench might be looking for an eat steal here, by the way.
Oh, Dibble. Oh, what are you doing?
He's
a
definitely
mad
looking
lad.
for an eat steal. Yep.
Oh, he's a mad lad. Thracian's not going to use my Dibble.
He got it!
Oh my
goodness!
Oh, Thracian, he doesn't get the level up. Dibble's just going to walk away.
He had 19 HP. 19 HP. And he just walks back to top lane and says, thanks for the blue buff. Have fun with your early game jungle path now.
Gosh, Thracian put down after a tough game 1 that just looked so good for the Hecarim. He got Divine Sunderer so early on, Valley, and now this is how we're going to start game number 2, is already in the bot lane. Things getting a little interesting. It's Issei on his signature crank, Kiba trying to make plays happen. That's what they've been doing all season, but the sniper shots, they hurt. Demon Snowball hurts even more. Issei with the knockup. Cray Dog getting low. Can he get finished off? Yes! The hook coming through the God Hand! Finds its mark. Cray getting taken down as well. Cray duo down. Glaive Black up 2-0.
I mean, everything going wrong. It seems like we're starting where we left off. Glaive has not taken their foot off the gas yet. And in a matchup where you think, okay, it's fairly even, right? You like Blitzcrank into the Rakan, but on the other side of things, you're a pretty big fan of the, Caitlyn into the Kai'Sa early on. It just goes all wrong. Demon's not going to get hit by the Dark Binding, and while an Otter has roamed down, there's not a lot that can be done here to really pressure out Kakari early on.
Yeah, this Malzahar is just going to be able to relax with the Voidlings. Rava also in a safe position, but we saw this Morgana pick in game number 1, and outside of the beautiful Rift Herald steal, it kind of was somewhat unimpactful.
It was definitely unimpactful. I mean, you have that one steal. It just didn't feel like it was in any of the important plays. As now we see another gank into this bottom lane.
Oh, the hook comes through as well, but there is the grand entrance out of the gank. That's going to do it. Cray Dog, honestly, it feels like dancing with the devil at this point.
I think he knows what he's doing. It's just difficult as a Rakan in that situation to say, hey, I have to not tank this. There's another snowball.
Hail of Blades is going to be active, and it doesn't go over the wall. Cray Dog gets taken down. That time, the snowballs are unrelenting out of the river. Demon just has no mercy in game 2.
I mean, at this point, if you're Cray Dog, I think you have to consider Wing before you get hit by the snowball.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Now we're seeing a snowball into the mid lane, so Rava's probably going to have to flash here. No, just Black shields his way up and binds and says, I'm not a support. I'm a little bit tougher to kill. And just walks out of that one. And now we're going to see a gank in the bottom lane from the Rack side.
This could be huge. Thracian looking to make an impact. The flash unburrow. Kiba brought in down quite low already. The grand entrance, missing. But Thracian is able to take out the ADC there, Kiba. taken down, unfortunately. But it's still Glaive Black here, up 3-1. Drift Esports fighting back.
Yeah, I mean, Drift Esports fighting back, but I think you have to give that to Kitten in that instance. That kill needs to be donated to your Caitlyn so she can get back to a lane bully position. Instead, it goes over to the jungler. Not going to be as effective to help scale into this into late game if they even make it there. I also think, you know, having a little bit more awareness of the situation around the Drake, they get that kill and they get some lane priority. Maybe they could have found an early Infernal for themselves. Instead, they just walk away. We're going to see a teleport back to the mid lane, and we saw some pings earlier on from Demon that they want to play around this objective, and that's exactly where Issei has gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this Drake go down pretty soon, as I think we'll probably hit a little bit of a lull state. Like I said, the Drake will go down, and we might see another gank into this bottom lane, but if you're Kraydog and Kitten at this point, you kind of just have to play passively and play for farm. Speaking of ganks.
And Demon looking at the mid lane, the suppression and the silence coming through. Rava slain, taken down. That's going to be another kill going over to Glaive, as here's that dragon you were talking about, Valley. Demon is waddling his way over here, as I do want to touch on this Rek'Sai pick for Thrasian in game number 2 of the Week 7 series with Drift Esports taking on Glaive Black. He actually had a pop-off performance, a 13-4-8 Rek'Sai game. Starting off on the right foot, is going to have to keep making these ganks work. Dibble going to be able to walk away from this one. Thrasian needs to come up bigger in these big moments.
Doesn't have flash there, so it does force flash out of the Tahm Kench, which opens up opportunities for repeat ganks. You're seeing that the wave is crashing, and that maybe even looking for a potential dive, at least the invade into that top jungle to get some priority, some vision, some information against Demon. Because right now, Demon is not slowing down. Yes, the CS is even, but Demon is everywhere on the map. He's made 3 ganks into the bottom side of the map. He's made 2 ganks into mid lane. He's collected a dragon, and remember, they stole away the first blue buff from Thrasian as well. So they are just kind of outpacing this Rek'Sai, and until you get some more carry potential on Kitten, it's going to be rough.
Stand United coming through. The Caitlyn going to be able to survive the 90 caliber net, missing not a lot of headshots, not ideal. Glaive now on the retreat are going to have to try to survive in Otter. The Shen comes up a little short. Gonna teleport back. I wonder, Issei flash available, but the teleport does go through, and Otter heads back up to the top lane, as that's gonna be a flash coming through. Issei, this is huge. Valley Kraken is going to get taken down. There's only so many different engages that the Drift Esports bot lane can try to survive. The Crank comes up with another kill.
And it's interesting that they picked Rakan into this Blitzcrank, as Blitzcrank is able to pop some of those shields, especially with the ultimate. It doesn't feel like Rakan is the most useful, especially seeing as these hooks are still landing. Kitten not really getting any of the disrupts from Kraydog before the hooks land, as that one does sail a little bit wide. But it just feels like they have no answers. There's the flash suppress and the Tahm Kench ulti.
Dibble coming in as well with the new. The dark finding is huge. Demon quite low. Gonna be forced to flash away. A little bit of over-aggression here. Classic Glaive. They're gonna be able to survive that overstep, though.
I love that play, though, from Glaive. The Abyssal Voyage to bring in Demon. That's a nice dive and a nice C chain if they can get it. Kitten may have overstepped. It's a 2-on-1.
Kiba dealing so much damage, lands the missile. Kraken gonna be taken down. Another solo kill going over to the Glaive team. That time, it's the Caitlyn falling for the trap.
It's just smart plays from Glaive and a lack of awareness from Drift. They're not making checking bushes. They're making wild assumptions saying, hey, Kai'Sa probably backed. Or I'm going to try and stop this back because I know Kai'Sa's not here, so maybe I can kill this support. Instead, the Kai'Sa's just sitting there saying, hey, if you over-aggress where you definitely shouldn't, we're going to punish it. And that has led Kiba to be 3-1-2, already has the Kraken Slayer picked up, so going to be doing a ton of burst damage. And in a matchup where the Caitlyn should be dominating early on, should have the advantage, there is no more advantage. It has gone all the way back the other way. We're looking at almost a 4,000 gold deficit at 10 minutes. There's a gank into the mid lane from Demon. Rava can't even black shield it.
Oh, Demon, what are you looking for? Rava taking quite low, but there's not enough damage for the full tank. Nunu Demon. Oh,
I love the attempt. I can't say I don't like the attempt. I think it's a beautiful try. It's just a little bit over aggressive, maybe under or leveled for the power spike that they wanted.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still there. Now you've got a 2-0 Rek'Sai, and Thracian needs to start making higher impact plays if they want to get back into this game, because he's the only one with a positive KDA right now.
They also can keep in mind they have Staying United in the top lane in Otter, not down too badly against Dibble. Yes, the Tom Kensha is quite a mighty CS lead, but right now all the global pressure kind of in favor of this Shen, the Abyssal Voyage, about to come off cooldown, but a little harder to use. And make plays happen with.
It's also not at a level where it's going to be reaching all the way to the Drake. It's going to maybe reach to the Rift Herald pit, if that, whereas the Stand United can get all the way down. And this Drake is spawning in about 50 seconds. Vision control on both sides. There's a nice line for the side of Drift behind the Dragon Pit, but they don't really have any presence in the river except by that one right by the middle of mid lane. And now we're going to see a lane gank start to get set up by Demon. If they can get a pick here, or even a dive, this will be really beautiful to set up a free dragon for them, but it is a 2-person roam down into this bottom lane.
Are you trying to join things as well, but it is Glaive Black making the first move. Issa is going to be knocked up and obliterated. Thracian goes on a killing spree. Kiba quite healthy as here comes Kukari with a potential big play, but it's Demon that gets sniped. This is going Drift's way. Maybe they can pull this one off. Kraken now looking for the pick.
All time
hit by the Shadow Dash, and Otter has arrived in the bot lane. The Dark Binding walking down Kukari. Kiba, Ultra Instinct coming out big. Kiba trying to make it work. Can he run away? Manages to escape. There's a big play coming out of the Glaive ADC to try to make that play work. It is a 3-for-1. Going the way of Drift Esports, that's big.
But it still doesn't get them any objective pressure. And Otter has maybe overstayed his welcome as Issei is chasing him down. Might look for a play onto Kiba if he can get onto him. Instead, the missile comes in. Issei will pick that one up. Overstayed your welcome there a bit, Shen. Yep. And on the other side, Tom Kench got plates, and this is still going to be the second dragon of the game going to Glaive. So even though everything goes right for them, they still have to get 5 players into this bot lane to win a fight. Nethergrass creates so much impact. We are going to see the Rift Herald dropped in that middle lane, so they might be able to get some plates out of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this tower fall in the bottom lane right about now.
Maybe one more play out of the bot lane, if that, as this looks like it's going to be another disappointing Rift Herald out of Drift Valley. Once again, they don't get any gold out of picking up the objective.
Yeah, it's just a lack of communication there as well. Rava is backing as that Rift Herald gets dropped, and that means Thracian can't push the wave against Kukari. It's a Malzahar. Try to push the wave against the Malzahar as a Rek'Sai. I guarantee you won't be able to do it, and it just gets no value. On the other side, like I said, they pick up the dragon. All the vision control is there in the bottom river for Demon, and it makes it so unsafe. Now they're looking for a gank. Thracian goes in.
Oh, that's a huge chilling smite coming through. That's going to get rid of the shield, and Kukari is blown up like a balloon. That's going to be a successful gank, and Thracian slowly but surely starting to have a game on this Rek'Sai once again against Glaive Black.
And I like what he's building here as well. Picks up the Prowler's Claw, so he gets a little bit more of a gap close onto these gank targets. Is getting some impact on for Rava as well. We've seen Rava in plays already, has landed more Dark Bindings. He's now sitting at 1-1-4 with a Lost Chapter and Sork Boots. He's going to start to come online pretty soon. Even though he's a little bit behind in his scaling, he should still be feeling pretty good about himself, as that gold in that mid lane is basically even. And Drift isn't out of this. It's now you're sitting around like a 2.4k gold lead for the side of Glaive. This is a game that is still close, a lot closer than it was last game at this time. I mean, to be fair, I think anything would have been closer than what we saw last game, but it's exciting because we want to see a competitive semifinals. We don't want people, to leave this series saying, hey, Drift didn't deserve to make it to this game. They definitely fought for what they earned, and if they can keep fighting in this game and maybe even take this game, I think that would make for a banger of a storyline and even more of a banger of a series.
Exactly. Continuing to try to see what adjustments are to be made in a League of Legends series is always just so exciting already after the demolition that was game 1 in favor of Glaive Black. Drift Esports, they ban away the kill, they ban away the Galio, and they tell Glaive, hey, try to beat us with something else, and let's see what you got. This time, Glaive having a little bit of a tougher time as Thrasian trying to get off another gank, maybe lead into some objectives going the way of Drift.
He did pick up the second Rift Herald, so I think he was looking for a gank to find objective pressure there. Demon has been spotted out here, so Rava should be playing fairly safe. I want to take a moment to look at the vision control for both teams. You see Drift is clearly prioritizing to this top lane as that first tower falls in the bottom lane, but there are 2 control wards and 3 other wards across this bottom side opposing jungle, and Thrasian might have bit off more than he can chew.
Here in the Sand United coming through. Thrasian's going to be safe, but not until Kakari comes in. That's going to be a huge kill. Now the ensuing fight, Rava and an Otter trying to make this one work. No one is protecting the Malzahar. Kakari all alone against the Shen, trying to run away, but can't make it work. Meanwhile, Rava managed to escape. Demon quite low on the Nunu. Kiba going to avoid the Dark Binding and the Trap. Going to be able to stay safe for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, Thrasian gets caught out, but they punish it nicely. Issei may have stepped up a little too far, gets Dark Binded and exhausted.
That's going to be another pick from Rava. The quickness coming through. Demon locked down, trying to get out of here, but the snowball interrupted. Kraydog with a huge flash, picking up a pick there. Drift Esports trying to stay alive in this series, Valley.
Kraydog finally steps in front of a snowball for the benefit of his team. It's incredible. Rift Herald is dropped in the middle lane. This should knock down this turret given the amount of damage it is going to do. It'll come close. They should have the damage to follow up with Caitlyn. Good sieging power on that AD carry. And this is a close series. It's only 2k gold difference. Yes, it's up dragons and up some gold, but the kills are even, the towers are even, and with a dragon spawning in 30 seconds and the backs coming in for power spikes onto this Caitlyn and onto this Rakan, and now Shen with the Sunfire Cape, there is opportunities, but Rava
caught out. Kiba goes on a rampage, and this
could
be the mistake. Drift Esports can't afford to make it. Otter safe in the Spirit's Refuge. Looks like actually is going to be able to escape that one, Valley, but look at the dragon. It is about to spawn. This could mean soul point for Glaive Black. The objective in dragon control has just been so good from this team.
It's 100% soul point. There is no reason to even try and contest at this point. And when I say there's vision control dominance from this Glaive team, what you're seeing is that right now, as Kraydog avoids the hook, the pick onto Rava was because he didn't walk into the bush and see the control ward that's been there for 3 minutes. The wards after that helped them flash after and get poke onto an Otter, the hook that was going after Kraydog, the way that they are forcing Thrasian out of his bottom side jungle, that is all based on vision control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wards in the river or the opposing jungle for the side of Glaive right now, and that is just ridiculous presence as far as vision.
So far, so good. Right now, they've got themselves over a 2,000 gold lead. Does, again, kind of pale in comparison from game number 1, but nevertheless, Kiba still showing strong 5-1-3 on this. Kaisa Dibble has been an absolute rock, but has to be careful going up against the Rek'Sai. Thrasian dealing quite a bit of damage, is going to go into the belly.
And
United coming through in Otter, going to help Thrasian out. Kakari all alone, going to use the ultimate, trying to lock down the Rek'Sai. Kiba all alone, going to get stunned up. And Otter looking to finish him off, does get the shutdown gold.
Dark Binding? Quickness!
With the Dark Binding, Krakens, and Otter standing strong, still alive. Kakari trying to pull this one off. It's a 1v3 situation.
Ace in the hole!
Zonya's stopwatch coming through. Kakari trying to hang on. That's going to be another snipe. Rava! What can't he do? Picks up another kill.
You have to be kidding me! From what looked like a dead Thrasian and then a dead Otter turns into an ace for Drift. They came around the corner and said, we're not done. This is our semifinals to give up. You don't get to take it from us. And they are the last one standing on the Rift in that 5v5. They are in this game, Mac Dewey, and they are not going down without a last word.
Laners are the X factors. We saw Kakari in game number 1 on that Galio have himself a game. Well, now it's Rava's turn. 4-2 in 9 on the Morgana, landing the clutch bindings, getting the picks onto Kiba, onto Kakari as well. In Glaive Black, they've got to switch up the game plan. They do have an Ocean Soul to potentially rely on in 2.5 minutes, but they got to get to that point.
They absolutely have to get to that point, and someone we need to highlight in that last fight is Kraydog. We criticized him early in the game for getting hit by too many snowballs, but these last 2 fights that they've taken, his engages with the grand entrances as well as the quickness have been massive. They remind me of Core JJ, as an Otter and Dibble just traded out. It's a wet noodle fight, and Dibble is losing.
Dibble has to be careful, and Otter able to deal so much damage at this point, especially with that Q. Both of the tanks able to cool off that Sunfire cape. The Aegis now, Sunfire Aegis, resetting
I had to change the name, didn't they? It just, of course. They were like, you know what? These casters, they're too comfortable. They know too much. They're learning about Leandri's over. We need to start changing names and changing items. We got to confuse them as much as possible.
Right.
It is going to be a 2-item power spike for most characters across the board, except for really those top laners and those junglers. In the mid lane, 2 items for Rava, almost 2 items for Kakari, 2 items for both AD carries, and Imperial Mandate. We have an Imperial Mandate. That's all I'm saying. Kraydog has Imperial Mandate, so it might be over. He knows the meta. He knows. He's got the insider information.
With Drake spawning here, 60 seconds on the clock, Valley. Drift Esports doing a solid job controlling the vision at the moment.
Yeah, they got solid vision control, but they're not set up to win this fight just yet because they don't have mid priority. With the amount of wave clear Kakari and Kiba offer, it's going to be very difficult for them to get the pressure they want as you see that wave crashing in, and that's going to allow Glaive to walk in and set up their own vision perimeter as we're looking at 30 seconds. So still time for Drift. Things to note is that while there is a pick potential for the side of Glaive with Issei with these hooks, it is not a tank for Issei. He's going full AP Blitzcrank, which means his hooks are going to do a lot of damage, but otherwise he's burst down very, very quickly. Yeah. And now they're trying to siege this tower instead of going for the Drake, and Engage should come in.
Kiba getting locked down, does use the killer instinct to stay alive. Demon picking up a huge charge. Look at all the ADC. Kiba, he's still alive. He's trying to take down Kraken, but the headshot comes through. It's a double kill for the Caitlyn, but the tanks just can't get taken down at the moment. Dibble, a huge shield. Is it going to be enough? Not quite. Demon, the only survivor. It's a 4 for 3. Drift Esports, the dragon has spawned, but I don't think they can take it with Demon up.
And every single fight, Kraydog gets at least a 3-man knockup and a 3-man quickness. Demon has gotten multiple ults interrupted by these taunts and these knockups, and it is just the difference of the Shen and the Rakan. I think we have to put presence on these 2 characters because, yes, we can say Rava has stepped up. We can say the Caitlyn has stepped up. Thracian is having a solid game, but these 2 have made a huge impact in these team fights. And now an Otter keeping Demon out of this pit incredibly effectively. Demon does not win this fight.
Demon getting so low, the taunt gonna finish him off, and Otter on a killing spree, but here come the reinforcements. Everyone else focusing down the dragon. That's gonna be
another
huge.
grasp.
Esports don't give over the soul. Knock coming through. Kiba finally with the QSS. Ain't gonna be turned down. No more shutdown gold going over to the Glaive EDC as they trade 1 for 1, but the objective goes over to Drift Esports. That's huge for them.
It is absolutely massive. It buys them so much time to keep hitting more and more power spikes. Yes, you have a Kaisa who is going to scale very well, but Tom Kench does not scale that hard. Nunu does not scale that hard. Blitzcrank falls off a cliff. On the other side of things, Shen is a solid split pusher, always offers value. You have a Rek'Sai who, while he's going to fall off, is going to give you solid engage potential and decent damage to try and delete this Kai'Sa or this Malzahar, and Caitlyn is going to just scale out of control. But it is a Baron take, and they have all the vision. There's no way for Drift to know that they're doing this right now.
What could they look for? I think Thrasian has spotted it out there with the Scryer's.
It's a little too late.
Teleport's going to be coming in, but Glaive Black, Valley, they're able to pick up Baron Nashor. It's no Ocean Soul, but this is pretty big for a team like Glaive.
It is absolutely huge for a team like Glaive. I keep saying absolutely massive, absolutely huge, but there's no other way to describe it. It's Glaive is a team that when they get an advantage, when they get a Baron, when they get a Ocean Drake, when they get a gold lead, they usually know how to push it and put the pressure in the right spots to get as much value out of it as they possibly can. And when you can sneak one away at 25 minutes like Glaive just did, that is immense value being added onto it. And Otter's going to walk away, so he should not get caught out here, but they are going to look for him. There isn't a tower for him to fall back to.
Oh, he's trying to have the mind games. Does have teleport available. It's not going to get interrupted! What? He gets out!
Yeah, he just stand United's back to the fountain. They don't have any CC to get onto him quick enough to disrupt it, and he still has teleport, so he can get to the fight either way. They really just need to survive this Baron as Kraydog is dead.
There's no chance, even with Stand United. Thrasian coming down, Kiba all over the place, autoing the blast cone. That's not ideal. Thrasian gonna be forced to back off as Rava now is the one caught out. Drift Esports not on the right page. Glaive Black reading them like a book. That's gonna be another kill. Going over to the unstoppable team. Glaive Black, Baron Nashor on the line. The traps may help, but they only delay the inevitable. Glaive Black are going to be marching in to open up the base. The flash hook. Issei, the God Hand, finishes off Kraid, getting the static field, dealing so much damage with the Everfrost mythic item. Drift Esports 5 strong. Look at the death timers, Valley. Look at these minions. Kraydog, the miracle shot going onto the Blitzcrank. That's not what you want to look for in the engage. Kiva going to get swallowed. Dimple, the huge save. Kiva now able to dish out the damage. Valley, this could be a quick end to our series.
It is absolutely the end of the series. It's only Kraydog and Rob. They can't stop the end of the game here. The Nexus is going to fall. Glaive says, you gave us a fight, but we'll give you a finish. And they are going to walk away with the first semifinal 2-0. GG's in the chat. And Otter throws up a good luck in finals. And Glaive, they say, hey, you want the throne? You want the crown? Come take it. We dare you. We don't care which catalyst we face. We don't care if it's Frost or Blaze, because we can take the fire. We can take the ice. We will rise above, and they show it here today.
What a dominating performance from Glaive Black in 2-0 fashion. It's no longer Tuesdays, but they still make it work on a Monday. 24/7, 365. Glaive Black can certainly play some League of Legends.
They absolutely can. Credit where credit is due. Before we throw it to the analyst desk into an interview, I want to give a huge shout out to Drift, going from a team that ended the season 3-4 to a semifinalist that gave a fight to our undefeated team, that pushed them in these team fights, that stayed with them even when it looked like they were down and out. This is a team that deserves our respect. Give it up for them. They made it very far, and Glaive, a fantastic roster, deserved the win, but Drift, props to them. That's all I can say. You know, they played really well, and they had a great season.
Yeah, for a second there, Drift Esports maybe could have pulled that one off. To see where they went wrong and where Glaive Black went right, we are going to throw it back over to Doc and Loud Thoughts over on the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, MacD, for the introduction. For the last time tonight, I suppose, it is yours truly, Loud Thoughts, joined here by Doc, and what a back and forth game we just witnessed. Drift giving us a little bit of a heart attack there. We thought they might have the download finally, somebody who can beat Glaive Black here. That Shen pick doing so much work.
Yeah, the Shen pick was actually kind of nutty. There was a lot of things that we questioned about that draft, namely the Caitlyn, the Rek'Sai. Like, those were the two picks we were kind of like, I really don't know how these fit into really League of Legends at the moment. But, I mean, we saw some actually really nice plays coming out of the Rek'Sai. We had that nice pick in the mid lane, comboing with the Morgana, which was really nice and really started to opening up some doors. And the Shen pick was insane. Like, the Tom Kench last pick was pretty meme. We're just gonna be upfront about that one, and it played like a meme because they just got simply out stat sticked by this Shen who builds this full tank, with a Tiamat, just really takes control of the lane. The game is so much more useful when it comes to team fights thanks to Stand United. Like, we saw one attempt in the mid lane for a gank with that Tom Kench Nunu ulting in under the tower, and it almost resulted in Demon dying to the Morgana just straight up because they pop out of the Tom Kench and they're like, surprise, and then you just get binded and you're like, heck.
Maybe not. Maybe not this time. Next time for sure we'll get them. But yeah, the Shen pick doing so much work that game. The Caitlyn pick also doing surprisingly well in the bottom lane paired alongside that Rek'Sai. The knockups into the Piltover Peacemaker, putting out so much work, so much damage. And we were mentioning that the goal of what Drift Esports were looking to do there was kill Kiba, kill him over and over again, find him, pick him off, use the Rek'Sai, get the Shen in there, use whatever you can to make sure that AD carry is dead. And in the mid game, they found quite a bit of success with that, constantly finding their way in the backline. Really got to give some huge shout outs to Kraydog as well. His Recon ultimates, wow, chef's kiss. Like, the swiftness, the grand entrance, everything that he was doing in the mid game, beautifully done, constantly catching multiple members of Glaive Black there, getting the CC, getting the wombo combo that his team needed.
Yeah, I mean, Valley brought it up on the broadcast as well, right after that mid lane fight where they were able to get so much out of it. It's something that is kind of fun to watch because we don't see a ton of Rakan anymore. We're seeing the support meta evolve quite a bit, but there are still these players that just pick the champion because it's fun, it's entertaining, you get to push a lot of buttons and do support-like things, and yet you still also get the excitement of playing an engaged champion, being able to flit in and out of the team fight, making sure that the rest of your squad is in a position to pop off, and that is exactly what we got there from Kraydog. And it's unfortunate that the team fights didn't continue to go their way. That sneaky Baron from Glaive Black just super propelled them forward. There was, at that point, they saw the ward go down, the blue checker ward go down, and there just wasn't a response. We saw the slow meandering up, but it's a Kai'Sa comp. They take Baron pretty fast, and once that went down, it seemed like Drift just kind of lost control, and they were scrambling at that point and kept getting pick after pick after pick, and it ended up costing them those last couple towers down in the bottom lane.
Yeah, the Baron pick up by the side of Glaive Black, they're huge. They were able to sneak that one away, and nobody was there to respond. It almost felt like Drift said, hey, we got the dragon, we stopped the soul, we can finally breathe, and Glaive Black was already ready to go on to the next thing. They were prepped and prepared for losing that dragon and knew, hey, this is the next move, this is what we go for next. Baron is on the map, we can easily rotate over to that one and pick that one up for ourselves here, and they were able to pick it up. Kraken Slayer Kai'Sa doing so much percentage health damage versus those large objectives. But Doctor, I do believe you have another patient for the doctor's office, an interview, if you will.
Yeah, we are going to get a chance to talk to the top laner of Glaive Esports here. It is going to be Dibble, the hard carry, the stalwart champion there. So hopefully we can get him in here in just a second.
Let's go ahead and move him on here.
All right. How you doing, Dibble?
How you guys doing?
We're doing good here. I mean, you guys have now secured yourself that grand final berth. You don't quite know who you're playing yet, but I'm sure you have some idea.
Yeah. I would say, sorry, dude. I was eating off and on through that game. I'm starving right now. I would say, you're probably looking at Frost, but to be honest, I'm more scared of Blaze. I think Blaze brings more to the table than Frost.
That's spicy in and of itself, because that flies in the face of everything we've talked about here. I kind of want you to explain that more.
I think skill-wise, individually, Blaze is the better team. I just think Frost is a more cohesive unit than Blaze is. Well, at least from the last time I saw him play.
All right, that's kind of crazy. We'll have to see. That match is slated for Friday night, so I'm sure we'll see the rest of you guys in chat. Keep an eye on that, just like us. But let's take a look at this game. So game 1, your team trusted you with the absolute first pick, Kale. Did you expect to have to play into another carry pick there, or were you thinking that Drift would just fall back onto the tank top meta?
Well, Drift's top laner can really only play 2 champions. It's in terms of like damage, it's like Urgot and Shin, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he picks something that's not those, and Kale gets some assistance early game, it's pretty much a wash from there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were just nonstop up there. I mean, you had the Galio, the Nunu, everybody joining the party. That's a bit of a rough setup to have. I mean, that was a 23-minute game. That was pretty quick. And I know you guys have talked about how you guys really like those quick games.
Yeah, it definitely fits our playstyle the best, even when we're playing scaling picks.
Yeah, I mean, Kale will definitely do that to you. So then we move on to game 2. You guys are up 1-0, 23-minute kind of, really strong finish there. This time, draft goes just completely out the window for Drift. Rek'Sai Caitlyn, nobody understands what they're doing. And your team gives you last pick Tom Kent. Was that you? Or did somebody else say, hey, wouldn't it be so funny if?
Yeah, so that was my pick. Yeah, I've got a soft spot for Kinch, just in general in the top lane. And with Rek'Sai, with Prowler's Claw right now, I didn't expect the Conqueror pick, because that's kind of troll, picking Conqueror on Rek'Sai if you're trying to just blow up the ADC. But with Rek'Sai in the game, Tom Kinch made the most sense in terms of keeping Kiba alive, even if it wasn't executed maybe the best. And plus, it's just fun to slap each other around up there with grass for 10 minutes straight. So,
okay, so you had to play into the Shen, who builds the new Sunfire. You built the new Tiamat, but there's a whole lot of things going on in the preseason. And so with the bye week that you guys had, how comfortable are you feeling on this patch compared to potentially some of these teams that have been having to play competitively on this?
That's a good question. Honestly, I'm going to be playing WoW because the raid drops, and I know so is a lot of my team. So this is it's going to be an interesting finals. I mean, whatever happens, this you're going to see a similar showing from tonight. So
that's true. I know that Wonder was playing WoW during Worlds, so at least you guys are in good company. And so the other league that we have here at Excellence, it is the Heavy League. We have similar storylines there, where we have CGC going, again, completely undefeated, not unlike yourselves. Is there a world where come next season you guys are looking to make that jump up to Heavy League?
It's a possibility. Right now, as soon as this league is over, WoW takes precedence. Let's get that out of the way real quick. So we'll have to see.
Time.
We'll have to see how the schedules line up and then go from there. But it's possible.
All right. Well, with that being said, congratulations once again on your 2-0 victory here, securing that grand final spot. Do you have any final words for the fans, the Twitch chat, the people in the Discord that are going to have to talk about this on Friday? Anything for us?
I'll be rooting for Blaze, and I hope everyone else is too.
All right. Again, I think that's super interesting from a perspective of my own, but all right, I'll join you. Let's go, Blaze. 2-1 it over Frost. I want to see it. Thank you once again, Dibble, for joining me here on the desk. That was a fantastic showing from you guys there. Good luck in the grand finals. We'll see you here next Tuesday. And I'm going to kick it back to Loud Thoughts, who hopefully has some of his own on that interview.
See you, boys.
What can I say, Doc? Wow. That's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Definitely an interesting interview that we had here with Dibble, but he's going to be one of our finalists next week on Tuesday. Our next games are going to be played this upcoming Friday. It was slightly mentioned between both of our Catalyst teams, Catalyst Frost playing off versus Catalyst Blaze. So do not forget to be here Friday night. We'll let you guys know on Twitter and in the Discord as well the exact timing. I think we have it posted someplace.
I think it's 8 p.m. again.
I think it's 8 p.m.
Like
Alrighty. 8 p.m., 5 p.m. PST if you're like me and live on the West Coast. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone here at Excellency Esports, myself, Doc, Valley, Mac, Dewey, and of course our production here, Monocle, joining us tonight and making everything run so smoothly behind the scenes. We appreciate you guys coming out and watching this stream, and we hope to see you guys both this Friday and next Tuesday as we'll have our finals next week. Don't go anywhere. Or actually, you can go anywhere you please at this point. So, with that,
Just wear a mask if you're going to leave the house. Is all I ask.
Please wear a mask, guys. We're still in this together. But with that, logging off for tonight. Have a good one.
Peace out.